Okay, so we're here at the Crush House. So can you tell us a little bit about the game?
Sure. So the Crush House is a game where you play as the producer of 1999's hottest reality TV show. And your job is basically to make the entire show. So you have to choose the cast, you have to watch them, get up to drama and romance and capture it on camera. But the main thing that you need to do is satisfy the different audiences who are watching your show to make sure that you don't get your show canceled and you don't get fired.
Okay, so you obviously don't want to get fired, obviously.
Right.
But so, is there like a specific game that you guys were inspired from?
So the Crush House is very unique as far as the core gameplay.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to find an exact comparison, but of course The Sims is a clear reference, right? Because there's the simulation aspect of what's going on. There are games that are like Pokemon Snap, for example, that are a bit about like camera stuff, but otherwise it's not. It's hard to really compare it to other games.
Okay, is there like a limited amount of characters that appear at the?
So we have 12 cast members, and you pick any 4 of them at a time. And so actually, that ends up being 495 possible combinations of the cast members, and all of the cast have different personality flaws, different backstories, different motivations for being on the show.
So did you guys actually like model the characters after a specific person, or is it just that?
Some of them have a bit of the classic archetypes of at least American reality TV, right? Where we have, I guess, what they call like a himbo, so someone who's very attractive but maybe not the smartest person, is this type of person. Uh-huh. Someone who is more like seems like a pretentious villain type, but also has maybe a little bit of a vulnerable side too, like things like that.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the studio, like how many people have developed this, or like you can kind of introduce the studio as well. So
yeah, sure. So we're an UK-based studio called Nerial that existed for the past 8 years. The first game that was released by this studio is called Reigns. It's a Devolver game studio, Devolver game. It's a swiping game where it's based on Tinder. You're a king, and you have to stay alive the longest as possible, based on what people request from you.
Okay.
This was the first game. Since then, we released a few more Reigns games. The latest one and the latest time we were at BIC was for a game called Card Shark, which was a game about cheating at cards. And now for the Crush House, we're around 15, and we're 100% remote. And we belong to Devolver, so yes, based mainly in the UK and in France.
So, if the whole studio is remote, then you probably have like people from like different countries and cultures, I would say.
Yeah.
So did that have any implementation in terms of how to build characters? Like, I know you said about something about the American characters, but they may be Asian or some other nations or continents, I would say. Did they have anything to do with that?
In the Crush House? Yeah. You want to talk about it? We have, of course.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Nerial is largely based in the UK and also French, but I'm American, so these are kind of the core cultures that really made up the Crush House. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. No, that's really, really nice. So how long did it take to develop the game?
So for me, from the very start, where you just had the idea, is about 5 years, but with Nerial and the full production, it's about 2.5 years.
Oh, that's really, really nice. So is this particular genre your favorite, you guys' personal favorite genres that you like, or is it just separate from your personal kind of taste?
Well, so the genre that we describe for this game, we call it a reality TV first-person shooter. So there's a little bit of a play on words in English. So it's a little, again, because the game is quite unique, it doesn't exactly fit in a typical genre. But for me, it's very different from the types of games that I typically play, which are more I love a big open world RPG AAA game, which is obviously not the kind of game that this is, but I think it's I think that's also common. People like to play different types of games than the ones that they actually like to make as well. It just feels different. I can have my fun time playing video games is separate from my work time making video games.
I think that's very true because once you kind of think work as something that you love, that kind of, I don't know, it's really hard to draw the line where if we cross that, am I gonna be losing the fun that I used to have and stuff like that?
That's very true. And 2.5 years on a game is a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time playing the game
Exactly.
over and over
Yes,
again,
yes,
right?
yeah.
So I think for me, I have these two aspects. I have the same as hers, which is open world RPG. I put my brain on the side and I play this game, but I'm also a big lover of indie games and anything that is a share of experience for someone who put effort and thoughts into wanting to open their little world to mine, and this is what I love about our game, is that it's it's an open world, like it's a little window on your psyche and what you want to bring to the table with the game.
Right.
And all Nerial games have this particular, and I think people have been asking us what is a Nerial game and such, and I think this is the shared experience. It's not necessarily the indie vibe, or obviously we're small, right?
Yeah.
But it's this idea that we want to share something different, and this experience that you're going to live through our games is going to be unique. And we see today in this event loads of games that are on this in this direction, and it's really nice to see this happening.
I will say though, one thing that does match sort of my personal taste and preferences, like the Crush House and the games I actually like to play, are I also like weird experimental games. Like when I play an indie game, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that I've never seen before, something that like challenges me or makes me laugh, or is just something completely unusual, and that is definitely true of the Crush House. So I think so in that regard, it is the type of thing that I also like.
Yeah, because I also did a lot of I covered the game because we also do release weekly or monthly new releases and stuff like that. And I also looked at this game. I was like, what kind of the game is this in the beginning? And I was like, I've never seen a game like this, because usually games are just like indie games are very they have their own unique stance, or like something they want to kind of like appeal to the audiences and stuff like that. But then they really go wild sometimes, and I really love that part about being playing indie games or experiencing that too.
Sometimes you just launch the game,
and then
you're like, what is it?
And then you see how are the game players gonna react? We have no idea, but this is fun, so go play.
What I love about it is when players love it.
Yes.
And you can't have forecasted that, right? Because it's a very niche game or different, or the art is very strong as such, and then it's a new trend. And I love it. I love it how it comes from indie and then it becomes a trend. And people are agreeing to just put their assumptions aside, expectations aside, and just play the game and see how they feel while playing it. And I think this is the kind of game we made where try to not think of anything else it reminds you of. Play it, what it makes, how it makes you feel. And loads of people, and the reactions we had from the community was, hey, whoa, this is not what I expected, but I'm having a good time, or I'm having a laugh, or I'm having a great time mixing matching those people. Oh, this happened, I'm so surprised. So this was the expected reaction from fans.
So this could be an unfair question, but what are your favorite game of all time?
All time.
Or something that you currently play, love?
Maybe my favorite. This is probably okay. I don't know if they're fully my favorites, but what pops into my mind, let's say like big AAA game, Skyrim. It's my personal. I just love again that open world exploration, but it has that weirdness to it, that just thing that's a little off about it. I love that. An indie game that I really loved was Before Your Eyes. Have you heard of this game? It's a game you play by blinking.
Oh, I think I've actually heard of that game.
It's great. It's really great. It really surprised me, actually. Really, really surprised. And it's the exact type of thing that I like in an indie game. So those are my two answers.
My favorite game of all time is an old Lucas game called Loom.
Loom, okay.
It's a very old, it's not even a point, it's a music-based puzzle game made by LucasArts in the before times. So I'm always advising anyone to play it, because the game design of this game is elegant, very simple, and it was made, I'm not saying 40 years ago because I'm very young, 30 years ago I would say. I was already born.
So how do you guys start as a game developer? Is it just a passion for the game and then you just decided that you want to develop game, or was it something that you switched in between, while you're going to school or something, you learn something and then you just, how did it all start?
We have two very different profiles in the answer. So I was a journalist, but I had a long time dream of becoming a game developer, whatever what the job was. And I worked as a journalist for 10 years. And one day I was like, okay, this is the time. So I just went back to school, did a master's degree in UX design and product management, and went into the industry as a producer.
So the journalism had nothing to do with gaming then?
No,
Okay.
it was just two of my passions as a kid, which were
Writing.
I want to make games or I want to become a journalist. And I did both. I'm very lucky.
So you're very successful then.
Very lucky.
Yeah, how about-
Found some studios as well in which I can be put everything. Like it took me some time to get to a place where my abilities as a journalist were really recognized in a place, and this is the case at Nerial, so I'm very happy about that.
For me, I actually studied journalism in college, though I didn't want to be a journalist, but I was always interested in like media. And after college, I worked at Kickstarter. I was doing like community management and outreach, and I was meeting a lot of really creative people, including a lot of game developers. Because at that time, there was sort of like a lot of indie games on Kickstarter about like 10 years ago. But I decided I also wanted to make creative things. I didn't know exactly what, but I went to a graduate program at NYU ITP, which is like a creative technology program, and I fell in love with programming immediately. And I just realized I wanted to make creative, artistic stuff with code. And so after that, I worked as a creative technologist at Google, doing this type of stuff with experimental technology. But I also had a sort of side practice of making my own projects and making little games and that. And then I realized I really wanted to like make the leap into trying to do like video games full time, because it's just sort of the way that people engage with your work when you make video games is like so much deeper than they do with like almost any other medium. So that was really motivating for me, and so I sort of came into it sideways from there.
That's really unique experiences that you guys both have. Like, you know, that's really nice because, you know, I also minored in computer science, but it wasn't for me at all. Like, I know, like you said, you fell in love in the beginning, but I was like, I felt like I know that I can't do this, but I'm just gonna fight through it and just get that program done. So yeah. So when is this released, or do you have a release date?
We just released last week, so it's out on Steam now. Yeah.
Do you have plan to like launch it in different platforms, or is it just still on Steam?
Not yet, but you know, we hope so. Yeah, we'll see in the future.
Okay. So anything you guys want to say to the viewers or the potential gamers?
No, we're very happy to be here. It was an honor to be selected and to be showcasing our game here. It's a very different audience. We are meeting very different people from the ones that we're showing our game to when it's in Europe or in the US, and it's really, really nurturing and giving loads of motivation. Market that reacted, like I know the Koreans loved, the Korean people loved Card Shark. We were very happy about this, our previous game, so we're like, we have a connection now.
Yeah.
So that's really a good feeling. Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, I think people should check out the Crush House if they're interested in experimental games, things that are weird. You can be a fan of reality TV, but you also don't have to. You know, the game also has sort of a dark mystery on top, which I think is interesting for a lot of players to explore. So, yeah, check it out. It's on Steam now, the Crush House.
Okay, so this was Crush House. So go play it on Steam. Thank you. Thank you for the dev interview. Yeah.
Minimap, your ultimate gaming hub.